Car of the Year 2022 Best Electric Vehicle under $100,000. In this category, it's all about how these cars translate to easy everyday use, and value is very important in this segment. The battle is on between the Hyundai Ioniq 5, the Mazda MX-30, the Volvo XC40 and the Polestar 2. This is not an easy trophy to take home with a very saturated market that is ever growing. The Hyundai Ioniq 5 is the brand's first dedicated EV platform, very retro and futuristic. The Mazda MX-30 is the brand's first attempt at an all-electric vehicle. The Volvo XC40 is very similar to its petrol counterpart, while the Polestar 2 is a new brand and owes its beginning to Volvo. Who will take home this trophy? It's time to battle it out.
The first cab off the rank is the funky Mazda MX-30. The MX-30 is available in 3 trim levels as a mild hybrid petrol model, but just one high-specification Astina variant as a wholly electric car. This pushes the price up to $65,490 before on-road costs, which is a considerable jump over the petrol version. It is well equipped and nicely presented though, and offers a 107 kilowatt, 271 Newton meter output from a single motor and 35.5 kilowatt hour battery pack. This gives the MX-30 Electric a claimed range of 224 kilometers. Judges praised the Mazda's high quality fit and finish and excellent urban ride, but felt the price pushed it out of value consideration.
The first thing I'm going to say about this car is that it is a really good urban drive. It's easy, it has a really nice premium interior, and probably some of the best refinement out of the cars for this year for Drive Car of the Year. The steering is pretty firm, which gives you extra confidence going into those tighter turns. I already said it's really refined, it copes well over those harsher bumps, and there's really not much noise coming into the cabin. The driving position in here is great, but the visibility in the rear is really lacking, as is its driving range and its performance, unfortunately. If you want a fast electric car, this probably isn't the one for you because it doesn't have that immediate response that you expect from an electric car. In fact, it is very laggy and it takes a lot to get any speed out of it. You really have to work on that throttle. There are 5 driving modes in this car in terms of regenerative braking, but you cannot do one pedal driving, which is something you really would expect from an electric vehicle. There are some really good things to take out of this car. For an urban drive, it works well. However, the price for the packaging is far too expensive, and there are plenty of shortfalls when you're on the road.
Being a predominantly urban-focused car, let's take a look at the interior and practicality of the Mazda.
Jumping into the Mazda, you might be pleasantly surprised because this interior looks really plush, a little bit vintage, but they've done a really good job at covering up a lot of those hard plastics with some great materials throughout, some a little bit questionable than others. But other than that, I think the big thing in here is the usable space. Lots of storage with a tray underneath the center compartment, a big center compartment cubby here, large door bins, 2 cup holders. You don't get wireless charging, but you get 2 USB ports up front. The seats are pretty comfortable, could do with a little bit of extra bolstering. Everything in here is within intuitive reach. You get this extra climate control system here and plenty of shortcuts throughout. However, one downer is that the 8.8-inch infotainment system sits quite far down, so it is quite hard to see things when on the move. I'm now in the back row and I can tell you it's not too easy to get in here. Not only is the door aperture tiny, but it actually took me some time to find out how to open the door. It's on the inside, just in case you wanted to know. As you can see as well, it's really crammed back here. I'm 173 centimeters, that's my driving position, and this is really the only room I get. Good headroom, but what you can do is you can adjust the front seat from here, which you really don't want to do to a driver while they're driving. No real niceties back here, tiny door bins, no dedicated air vents or USB ports. You do get a fold down armrest with cup holders, but that's really about it. It's not the most comfortable place to be, and good luck getting out with ease.
While the Mazda MX-30 has to balance the engineering needs of both a petrol and electric car, the Hyundai Ioniq 5 was developed ground up as a completely electric vehicle. Judges were impressed by the Hyundai's space and functionality, as well as the technology on offer, but feel there are still some elements that need refinement, especially for shorter drivers. We talk a lot about clean sheet and ground up design for electric cars, and that is exactly what the Hyundai Ioniq 5 is. This car has been thought of both technically and in terms of practicality as how a new generation of drivers will approach a car like this. Not only in terms of family use for space and then for performance and charging and all of its energy attributes, but in terms of some of the features that have been placed into this car, it is very much a fresh way of thinking. There's no transmission tunnel, obviously, because the car is built on an electric skateboard, which means you can move this center console back and forward to either help the people up front or the people in the back get better use from it. So it's this kind of let's start from scratch approach that has been taken not just with the Ioniq 5, but in terms of this new generation of electric car that does start to set them apart from cars that have been adapted from a combustion platform. So what do we really like about the Ioniq 5? Well, for starters, the look. It is cool. It really does turn heads. It is a very, very funky and modern yet retro design. It's unlike anything, and I guess the crazy thing is you see a photo of it and you think, oh right, okay, it looks like a Hyundai i30, but in fact it's bigger than a Hyundai Tucson, and it's only when in traffic that you get a true sense of context for the size of this car, which means you've got a stack of room up front, you've got a stack of room in the back, you've got good boot space. It is a very, very sensible car. Performance is impressive, ride quality is impressive. You've got pretty reasonable energy use out of this thing as well. We're sitting roughly around the 20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometer mark. And look, we've had the air conditioning running, we've had the car stationary for a while we're filming and chatting and working through this. So I'm sure in the real world you may even be able to get that lower. But in terms of how some of the other cars have performed, it is actually really impressive. Now we know that one of the fun features of the Ioniq 5 is that it has an external power out. You can have use the car's battery to power other devices, and we've all done the fun stuff. I think Justin did hair clippers, we've run coffee machines, all that kind of thing. But the interesting one is you can actually use it to power another electric car. So the idea that people say, well, what if I'm out for a drive and my EV runs out of batteries? What do I do? Well, you think if Hyundai have a support fleet of Ioniq 5s to come and rescue you, they can charge you up with their battery to keep you going. And it's just, again, a really, really clever thought about how this car can be best used. But there are some things worth considering about the Hyundai Ioniq 5. If you want the all-wheel drive car, it is quite expensive, over $75,000. Getting one can be quite hard too. There's only a limited number available to the country. They come on limited release allocations. The first allocation sold out straight away. So the idea that this is a hugely desirable car means that you will have to probably wait to buy one. Another thing too, if you do have kids, this car has a white interior, the white seats, white door cards. Find a way to keep it clean because it's not going to stay this way for long. It does look very cool. My tip is the nappy wipes, the non-scented ones, pretty good. They can actually clean up most things. Keep a bunch in the glove box. It's not just the electric drivetrain that is the impressive technology about this car. Hyundai have wrapped in all of their leading safety and driver assistance technology. So you get the cameras in the wing mirrors that show you if you've got cars next to you in your blind spot. You get a well-featured navigation system. You've got voice navigation, you've got Apple CarPlay. So it really is a jack of all trades for today's car buyer. And it's why we think that the Hyundai Ioniq 5 is a tremendously impressive electric vehicle. And if it is your first foray into the new era of motoring, what a cool way to start.
Priced from $71,900 in a rear-wheel drive single-motor configuration, or $75,900 with twin motors and all-wheel drive, the Ioniq 5 uses a 72.6 kilowatt-hour battery and offers a claimed range of 451 kilometres in single motor or 430 kilometres in dual motor form. There are 6 colour choices and the car can be built and ordered through the Hyundai website. The downside being, it's only available in limited numbers.
Well, part of the clean sheet approach that Hyundai have taken with the Ioniq 5 is to allow you to use this car
as you would an electric vehicle. So you can put the car into a lounge mode. And as my thigh rest comes up here, when you're charging it, you may be spending sort of, upwards of 45 minutes sitting in a car park with the air conditioning on, maybe watching a movie. And now, it's pretty comfy. You've got a panoramic sunroof to look up and watch the world go by. And I've got to say, this is pretty relaxing. And it's not the only cool thing. It's very difficult to get back up when you're my age. It's not the only cool thing about the interior of the Ioniq 5 as well. You can see, obviously, the white seats. There's some very nice materials. You've got a lot of good, clever storage cubbies. And of course, the technology here with the twin screens does make it feel like a modern, but also very usable car, especially if you're coming from one of Hyundai's other products. Let's have a look in the back. Now, it's the back seat of the Hyundai Ioniq 5 that really shows you just how big this car is. I'm 6'3", I have a stack of headroom, even with a panoramic roof. I've got a heap of legroom, even with that seat in my position. Plus, I can move the seat base if I need to for back and forth. I can recline the backrest if I need to. The center console can be moved forward by the people in the front to give you either more legroom or closer access to phone charging or storage. And it's yet another way that the Ioniq 5 has been thought of as a wholly new and usable electric vehicle.
The newest kid on the block in terms of our finalists is the Polestar 2. Hailing from Sweden and part of the same family as Volvo, Polestar seek to offer an entirely electric vehicle lineup that offer plenty of Scandinavian style. The Polestar 2 can be had with a standard 64 kWh battery or long-range 78 kWh unit, and with either front or all-wheel drive. This presents a lineup which extends from $59,990 for a 440 kilometre range 165 kilowatt model to $69,990 for the 480 kilometre range 300 kilowatt choice. The drive judges were all impressed with the car's quality and driving engagement, but found that only offering option packs made the addition of some basic extras an expensive exercise.
Now I know what you're thinking. What is a Polestar? Well, Polestar is Volvo's sister/cousin brand. They're both part of the same family group, so there are a lot of similarities between the Polestar and Volvo's electric product. Underneath the car, it's the same as what you'll find in the XC40 Recharge Pure Electric. But it's a separate brand, separate showroom, separate dealers, all that kind of thing, and you do need to consider it as a separate badge than the other Swedish mainstay. And I guess for us in Australia, Polestar is one of a few brand new brands that we will see for 2022. And that this car, even though it is called the Polestar 2, because it was the second car, is the first one into Australia. And I can tell you, it has landed with a really, really well-sorted product. It's not often that a brand new brand will jump straight to the top of the pile. And I think that's what Polestar has done here. It is tremendously well built. You've got a lot of lovely fabrics and lovely materials around the cabin. This car is the range topper and it has a 300 kilowatt drivetrain. So it's certainly sporty. But what I really like about it, and what the judges have come back about this car, is that it is so simple. You get in, you put it into drive, you put it into reverse, and you're going. There are no complex sports modes, there are no paddles to shift. It's not trying to be a petrol car that is now electric. It is a wholly electric vehicle, and it is better for that. So what we really like about the Polestar 2 is it is just so well mannered and so refined in a way as an electric car. It is the sort of thing that anyone can get into and become very familiar with very quickly. As stated, the performance is excellent and it feels really, really good both around town and even in a touring or slightly performance environment. But what we found issue with the Polestar is its product packaging. There are a number of features on this car, adaptive cruise control, heated seats and other niceties that it would be really good to have as options, but they're only available as packages. Now fundamentally I actually like that idea, that it makes buying a car far more simplistic, but these are not cheap packages. To get adaptive cruise control you need the Pilot pack. To get heated seats you need the Plus pack, the Premium pack, which comes with other things, which includes the huge panoramic roof which doesn't have a sun blind, and that's probably not ideal for Australia. But basically what that means is your sub $60,000 car becomes a $75,000 car very, very quickly, plus on roads. And if you're going for the 300 kilowatt dual motor car,
you really are pushing $100,000. And it's that kind of thing that has made us sort of have a look at the Polestar in more detail. However, very few cars that we have driven this year have garnered the attention that the Polestar has. There are a lot of people interested in this car. It is a very handsome looking car. It is a very cool looking car. And it is something that represents a different option for many, many buyers. You get a very, very well-rounded product. So if you are in the market for something that isn't an SUV, that does look a little bit different, that does get people asking questions, and that is fundamentally resolved, have a look through, work out your packaging, and I tell you what, the Polestar 2 could very well be your first electric car.
Inside, the Polestar's Scandinavian heritage is apparent, with a lovely mix of materials balanced against a minimalistic approach.
Well, the design of a swoopy mid-sized liftback sedan is always going to have some compromises, and the rear passenger space is it. If you're over 6 foot, your head will probably hit the roof, which in this car is a full glass panoramic sunroof. Problem is, there's no blind to close on a hot day. It's worth noting too that the Polestar 2, although it has a 3-row bench here, is basically a 4-seater, because the carryover from this being based on the Volvo XC40 means that it still has a transmission tunnel, which makes this middle seat pretty much useless. The thing is though, the materials are really nice, the build quality is nice, and in the sports pack cars you get these really snazzy gold seat belts. Let's take a look up front. Now up front, the simplicity of the Scandinavian design of the Polestar 2 is very, very apparent. You've got lovely materials. This open pore wood and even cloth dash inlays really do make the Polestar feel pretty special. The car is very, very simple. There's nothing to do here but stick it in either drive or reverse and get going. No fancy drive modes, no pretend paddles, no other bits and pieces. So it is, again, a fresh way of looking at driving. In the center of the dash is the large portrait-style touchscreen, which runs a Google operating system. Now, for the most part, this is quite nice. Its interface is a lot cleaner design than what we've seen in the Volvo, and the Google functions do work most of the time really, really well. The thing is it does require an internet connection. So if you're in an area which has got either poor service or you've dropped out for whatever reason, some of it doesn't work exactly as you expect it to all the time. Again, being an over-the-air updatable car, we really expect this to change as the Polestar really embeds itself into market. But fundamentally, simplicity is key, and that simplicity is good.
Last but not least is the other Swede in our finalist group, the Volvo XC40 Recharge Pure Electric. Offered in a single high-specification grade with no options to choose from except which of the 8 colours you prefer, the Volvo is priced from $76,990 before on-road costs. Underneath the familiar XC40 bodywork is the same hardware as in the long-range all-wheel drive Polestar 2, a 78 kilowatt-hour battery pack for a 418 kilometre range with a potent 300 kilowatt output. Judges found that the Volvo's immediate familiarity would make stepping into an electric car easy for many buyers, but noted the shared platform's compromises limited rear passenger room.
Jumping in this car and hitting the road, the first word that springs to mind is effortless. This really is an easy drive, and if you're already an XC40 owner, then you might want to think about switching into this for your next electric car, because it really is exactly the same as its petrol counterpart, just with an electric motor. While this car is a little bit weighty, it has a real sporty-like feel, and that's all thanks to the 300 kilowatts of power. The throttle response is instant, and it really is quite a fun and sporty drive. The ride in this car is truly exceptional. It is refined, steering is light and copes well into the twists and turns, does well over those harsher bumps. There's only just a little bit of noise reverberating into the cabin. I really can't fault the drivability in this car. It's enjoyable, it's fun. I think the best part is that there is so much power on tap. This thing just goes. And as I already said, if you already have the XC40, then this could be the ultimate step into an electric vehicle because it is so familiar.
Like the Mazda, the XC40 is mildly compromised by having to exist as a petrol model, which means limited front-end storage and a transmission tunnel for rear seat passengers.
The good thing about the Volvo is that you can get in and be on your way. No stop start button, just pop it in drive and get going. Now, when you first step in, it does look really lovely in this cabin. They've done a good job at covering any of those hard plastics with some features in the doors and on the dash, and also the felt in the doors and beautiful fabric lining across the roof. The Google interface is perfectly positioned and really easy to use. However, relying on the internet isn't a great thing because it has had the tendency to drop in and out. Other than that though, there are plenty of shortcuts on the screen and it is a really easy system to get used to quickly. One thing about this car is that the storage has certainly been compromised. Yes, there's room in the center here and in the door bins, but really no other additional storage cubbies around. You do get a wireless charger and some niceties. The seats are really comfortable and well bolstered, but it could do with a little bit more space in here. Back here, it's quite a comfortable place to be. You get all those niceties that you expect, including 2 USB-C ports, dedicated air vents, seat heating, seat back pockets, door bins, and a fold-down armrest with 2 cup holders. Have a look at my legroom. It's pretty decent, as is headroom. One nice thing about sitting back here too is that it's bright and airy because you have access to that beautiful big sunroof. However, the only downside is that there is no recline on these seats.
And so the winner of Drive Car of the Year 2022 Best Electric Vehicle under $100,000 is the all-new Hyundai Ioniq 5. The Ioniq 5 has impressed the judges in every key area, answering the brief not only for what buyers are looking for from a practical family transport, but also what people are wanting from the future of electric motoring.
The Hyundai Ioniq 5 was the clear winner among all our impressive finalists, with a clean sheet approach to what a family-friendly, modern and cool electric car can be, shining through. The amount of technology and the way it is implemented will again have buyers rethinking what they know about Hyundai, and it shows that the Korean brand is continually innovating to offer buyers the absolute best of what's available today. The Polestar 2 was also highly ranked and pipped its Volvo cousin by just 1 point, with the Mazda following in 4th. A still worthy car for electric buyers to consider, particularly in a wholly urban setting.
For all the details about this category for Drive Car of the Year 2022, head on over to Drive.com.au.